We're doing a lovely teriyaki salmon on sushi rice bowl with some lovely tender stem broccoli with nori seaweed. I'm going to start off with a lovely salmon, and I've taken the center cut out of them. I kept the skin on, take the scales off it. Nice bit of thickness as well, because when you have it too thin, it kind of seems to cook very fast and you won't get that lovely kind of medium and juiciness in the salmon. And especially for this dish, it's really nice with the rice, you know, you don't want to overcook the salmon. I'm going to make an incision just on top of the skin with a knife. And this will help the salmon to cook through in the middle. So you don't want to slice it too deep, you want just a couple of centimeters down. And when you're frying this off in the pan, first of all, this will help to get more flavor inside the center. And also will help to crisp the skin as well. I like to marinate the salmon a small bit with some soy sauce just to get a bit of flavor into it. And I also like to just flavor a small bit of garlic. So I'm just going to use some of this. And it's going to use some ginger as well. What the soy sauce will actually do is first thing it will marinate. And when you keep it in the fridge for a nice 15 minutes, when you sear that on a hot pan with a bit of oil, that will give it a lovely crust as well and a nice color to the salmon. So I was just going to put that in the fridge. We're going to move on to the sushi rice. So sushi rice is a bit different than your normal rice. So there's loads of different varieties of rice between your long grain, your jasmine and the sushi rice. So even sushi rice has different ones as well. Sushi rice is a round grain and it's a polished grain. So the higher the grade, the more polished they get. So this one is a medium kind of quality and it's very good. So you see the pearl, okay? I wouldn't suggest using long grain or basmati for this recipe because it just wouldn't work the same. So what we're going to do is just go over the sink here. I'm going to rinse off the starch in it. So first of all, you get a cloudy water and you do that 3 times, you empty it out. So that means whenever the rice cooks, you get a lovely separation on the grains itself. So that's why we're doing that. You normally do 1 part rice and then 2 parts water. So that's kind of my measurement for cooking rice, and we steam it really slowly. So 200 grams of rice, and I'm going to do 400 grams of water. All right. So what we're going to do is put it on the low heat. We're going to bring it up to the boil and kind of like a medium heat, okay? And after when it starts to boil and you start to see the steam, we're going to turn the heat down to low, and we're going to let it, the grain itself steam inside. Okay. Now, let's just put the rice on there. So we just let the rice cook. That's normally going to take about maybe 15 to 25 minutes, I say, you know, between. So it should boil like about 15 minutes and just let it sit on a low heat then after that. And you want to let the rice slowly steam itself without burning to the bottom. So really low heat. And until the water all evaporates and you see the grains all kind of separated, and that's what you want, you know. So no rushing it. So let the rice sit itself and just let it come up very nicely. This is our time to make the teriyaki sauce for the salmon. I'm going to use some soy sauce, and I have some MIRIN. So MIRIN is fermented rice kind of vinegar. I throw a small drop of sugar in here, and that'll give it a lovely kind of like a glaze. And now we're going to just add in a bit of flavor. I say half a clove of garlic will be fairly fine here. And so we're going to use a small bit of a ginger again, and this will give it a lovely flavor. I always see garlic and ginger and soy sauce is like kind of like the holy grail of Asian cooking, you know, because you can't really do without it. It's just embedded in there, the flavors. So we're going to bring this over the stove now and put it on low heat, bring it to the boil, and so we can let it simmer. So you can see this kind of coming up and really syrupy. You want to kind of reduce it by half. And this would be a lovely kind of like a honey kind of glaze, but in the Asian kind of version. So this would be lovely on your salmon. What I want to do now is just let it slowly reduce and the medium heat, not too high, and just let it bubble straight away and let it reduce really slowly. Because I don't want to, you know, destroy the lovely flavors that's in there by just torching it, you know what I mean? Too high temperature. While we're waiting for the teriyaki glaze to reduce, we're going to make the seasoning for the sushi rice, which is nearly done now. What I have here is some rice wine vinegar. You can buy this in your local Asian store. I have some molten salt here. I'm going to keep some behind as well later on for just a bit of garnishing on top. Just get a lovely flake. 50 grams of sugar, just normal castor sugar is fine. I'm also going to add in a small drop of mirin, and this will give a lovely sweetness as well. So we're going to bring this to the boil, and we're going to let it cool a small bit because I don't want to go in too hot into the sushi rice, or else it'll just kind of clump all together. Now, as you see this here, you can see it all, the ingredients dissolved into this liquid. And this is what you want going into your rice. And this will season it and also separate the grains as well at the same time. So the rice is cooked and it's resting there for a few minutes. So I'm going to put the rice in here. I'm using a fork to separate the grains. So I have the seasoning there. You can see kind of syrupy consistency. So I'm going to throw this in a little bit at a time. You don't want it too much, because you don't want this to be too soggy. So slowly, slowly. You want to leave it sitting for another couple of minutes, and the rice will absorb this liquid. So you can see there the rice, the grains have all separated. You want to let this cool for just a few minutes, and we're going to get the vegetables ready, and we're going to cook this through. So I have some lovely tender stem broccoli. It has a bit of a better texture than your normal broccoli. Very popular in like an Asian kind of cooking, you know, because we love that kind of crunchiness, and these kind of florets soak up the sauce as well. These don't really take much preparing unless you have a really big stock and you need to cut it off because it gets a bit fibrous down the bottom here. But these are lovely. So we got these in the market this morning, so there's not much you need to do with these. And with the spring onions, I'm going to add a bit of texture to this dish by slicing it lengthways. So I'm going to slice it as thin as possible. And the spring onion itself is probably one of the most popular vegetables that you can use in the Asian kitchen. We use it to make stocks out of it, to make soups, and also just use it to freshen up dishes at the end. We'll keep some of this raw for garnishing later on. And what we're going to do is we're going to throw some of it in with our broccoli when we're cooking of it in the wok. In Asian cooking, you want to have all your kind of vegetables ready before you kind of go to the wok, because you don't want to be going back and forward, you know. So you want to have all your ingredients ready so you can just cook, because it's going to be very fast. So I have a hot pan here, so a hot wok. I'm going to put some rapeseed oil, but you can use vegetable oil as well if you want. And let the oil heat up. You can see it's kind of swirling a small bit there, and that's when you know your oil is ready without being too hot. You can see the garlic there is just sizzling away. Just let it slowly brown without burning, and this will give a kind of lovely nuttiness to the oil. I'm going to throw the broccoli in here, so don't be afraid. Put the broccoli in there first. And what I want here is I just want to get the flavour into the greens without cooking it too much. And what I'm going to do after this, we're going to throw a drop of water in there, but you can throw in you know, fish stock if you want as well, or you just water is just fine as well, because you want to wilt it down a small bit, and you want to cook the stems small bit without burning it too much, because you need a bit of liquid in there. I've been frying off there. You see the colour kind of changing on the broccoli, and you see some of it there is getting a bit toasty as well. And now what I want to do is cook some of the stem. So I have maybe about 20 grams of water. So I'm going to throw it in there and just let it cook off slowly. And you want to turn the heat up a small bit here as well at the same time. So you want to create a bit of steam. So you can see a bit of steam coming off there. Very nice. And at the last minute, I want to add in some of the spring onions that we chopped up earlier. We have some raw stepped aside, but I want to add a bit more flavour into this. So I'm going to throw it on top of this. Beautiful. I love vegetables al dente and a bit of crunchiness to it as well. I don't like overcooking it, because when you start seeing the kind of go dull green colour, that's when you know your vegetables overcooked and all your nutrients has kind of gone out of it. So what I'm going to do is turn down the heat a small bit, and this is our perfect time to add in flavour. So I'm going to add in a small bit of soy sauce in here, okay? And I'm going to add in a small drop of sesame oil, and at the end we're going to add in a small bit of ginger. Ginger has a way of freshening up dishes like lemon you would use for a French kind of cookery, you know. So you would freshen up fish in bits and pieces to bring a flavour of vegetables or, you know, meat. And we use ginger as the same way in the Asian kitchen. So add a small bit in there. Now I'm going to add in here. I want to keep small bit of that sauce, okay? This is perfectly cooked now. And this is ready to go into our bowl now with the salmon and the rice. So I have a non-stick frying pan and it's heating up there, kind of like a high heat. What I'm going to do is turn it down because I don't want the skin to burn, because soy sauce tend to burn very easily, you know. But I want this to caramelize, and because of the thickness of the fish, it's going to take maybe about 2-3 minutes on each side, and I want to let it rest for maybe, you know, 1 or 2 minutes as well. So 4 to 5 minutes altogether. So I'm using rapeseed oil again, and this will add in a lovely golden kind of color as well to our pan. So you can see the pan smoking there, really hot, and that's perfect normal. And you want the kind of like a sizzling kind of going off there. So if you do think your pan is too hot, do turn your pan down into lower heat. But at the start now, you want it really hot. Just let it sit for a couple of minutes because the skin is starting to want to crisp up at the moment. And this is the time not to get your spatula and you want to turn it because you'll break your skin of the salmon, which you want a lovely crispy kind of texture to it. So I'm going to leave that there for a couple of minutes and just let it crisp up. You can see it start to, you know, around the sides there, starts to get a bit brown. So this is a nice tell there that the skin is crisping up nicely. Okay. You can see a lovely skin there, nice crispiness at the side there as well. And this is what you want, you know. You don't want it overburn because once it gets too dark, it starts to get a bit bitter. So I turn the salmon to the other side. And what I'm going to do is let it cook for 1 minute on the pan, because the pan itself, like when I turn off the heat, it still holds a lot of heat in there, you know, because the fish doesn't take long to cook, only a small bit of heat. We're just going to let the pan cool down slowly itself, and the rest of the heat will finish off the salmon, just where I want it, nice and medium in the center. I have a piece of avocado done there, and what I want to do is I want to slice it kind of thin, because what I want to do is I want to fan this out in our lovely bowl there with the salmon, and I'm going to sprinkle some sesame seeds on top just to create a bit of that crunch, you know, into that whole dish. So I'm just going to leave this here, and I also have some nori seaweed. Nori seaweed is it's very nice, and this one here is particularly about an Asian market, and it's slightly toasted, so it's good, and this will give us a nice bit of crunch. Use the scissors is the best way, and just cut some little strips out of it, or as julienne, as the French call it. Okay, lovely. We have all the components ready and we're ready to assemble the dish, and this is the most exciting part, you know, of the journey here. So we're going to build our bowls now. So have a lovely bit of sushi rice there. Remember that lovely flavor of the sweetness and the saltiness that we put in there with that seasoning. Next we're going to throw in our broccoli that we did earlier. Very nice. And next are pieces of salmon that we let it rest there. I like keeping the skin on because I just love the crispiness of the skin, you know. So I'm going to throw the avocado in here. So you want to create a different kind of color throughout the greens. Now we're going to add in a lovely nori seaweed on top, small bit. Cover all of them. Some sesame seeds, and don't forget our teriyaki kind of sauce that go on top of it, you know. So I'm going to finish off with a small bit of the spring onions that we cut, and just give it a lovely freshness kind of flavor at the end. So this is my teriyaki salmon with tender stem broccoli and lovely avocado and sushi rice bowl.